My name is Luis Tijerina, but today, because of the thing that I'm doing here, know me as Watching Wolf, and as he mentioned also, a couple of weeks ago became chief for the Lakota tribe in South Dakota, and which is a great honor for me, and I really appreciate the opportunity to come. This is my one of my first presentations since coming back from South Dakota, and I'll talk about some of the things that we did there, but I'm going to tell you how I became Watching Wolf. You know, there's a lot of people who have Indian names, and that's what we call maybe an earth name. What you see here today, a lot of times when I do these presentations, ladies and the gentlemen come up to me and say, you have a lot of interesting artifacts. And that's an insult to me, because these are not artifacts. These are not things that belong in a museum. These are actual things that I use in my daily life. And what we do has been going on for hundreds of years. And over the persecution of our people over those hundreds of years, these rituals and ceremonies, the heritage and the culture have survived. And the only reason that they have survived, and this is a good thing for the women in this room, because y'all need to have a pat on the back. The woman is the backbone of what this world should be, okay? Because in our culture, it's a matriarchy. We know that the warrior went to war and died and left children. So who was left to raise the male to be a warrior? The mother. She knew everything that warrior needed to know to be a warrior. And so for you ladies, take your place in society, have a voice, and say what you're going to say, and don't feel bad about saying it, because you have a voice. And in our society, the women are not less than a man. They're equal to, they have a say, and they'll be listened to, and then the tribal council will consider the things that the women have said and will put it to use if it has what they deem to be the knowledge of the sages. I became Watching Wolf many years ago, probably about 20 years ago. As I said, my name is Luis Tijerina, born to Alberto and Lourdes Tijerina in Odessa, Texas. But over the years in my life, there was a lot of confusion. And I like to explain it this way. You know what vinegar and oil does for a salad, right? It makes it taste real palatable. You can take it and eat it and it tastes real good. But what do you have to do to that vinegar and oil before you use it? You have to shake it up, right? Well, in my veins, because I'm not a full blood, I have Spaniard blood and I have Indian blood. And that's the controversy that lives in me always, because there's heritage, there's culture that comes along with that, with the blood. And so I had to be agitated in my life. I was walking a road that was not this road, the red road as we know it. And so when I came to a point in my life where everything was topsy-turvy, I was in dire straits, I dug a hole so deep for myself that all I could do was look up and say, God help me. What have I done with my life? In respect to what my life was, from a person who was on alcohol and drugs and using it very heavily, to a person who does not do any of those things anymore and goes into schools and talks to students about drug abuse and alcohol abuse and tells them that that road is a dead end. This is what this road has done for me. But first, I had to be agitated. That oil and the vinegar had to be mixed in order for me to take it down. So I said, well, what is it that my people used to do? When I asked Grandma and Grandpa and all the aunts and uncles, they said, well, we're Indian. I said, well, what did they used to do? They didn't know, because over a period of time it had been lost in the family. And so over the time of trying to reach back to the roots and trying to find out where we came from and what our people did, my lineage is Comanche and Tarahumara. The Tarahumara is the Indian from the northern part of Mexico. They live in the Sonoran Mountains, and they come down very rarely. And the Comanches, of course, were in this area up to maybe even to Colorado, down into Mexico, where they would go into and steal the horses from the Spaniards and bring them back up and use them. And as you know, the Comanches were very proficient riders. They could hang off the side and shoot their enemy. They could get buffalo that way and those kind of things. So I had to find out what it was that my people did. And a lot of things came into play. Dreams. Dream psychology, I had to look into see what my psychology was. And the dreams were telling me, you have to do this. And I didn't understand what it was. But I saw myself hanging from a tree. If you may remember a few years ago, A Man Called Horse. Richard Harris came out and did the movie A Man Called Horse. Well, that's about as close as you can get to having what's known as a Sundance. And in this dream that I had, I said, what in the world does this mean? I was hanging off a tree. And here's the reality of it. These are piercing pegs, what we call piercing pegs, a Sundancer's pegs. They'll take a scalpel and cut a hole from one side of the skin to the other. They'll take this peg, and then they'll insert it in that slit that they've made. And then they'll take the harness and fashion it around the peg, and then, voila, you are pierced and attached to this harness. This harness then goes to a rope, and the rope is attached to a cottonwood tree that has been placed in the sacred circle that we dance. And a lot of people say, well, why do you pray to a tree? And we say, we don't pray to the tree. We pray at the tree. It is an altar. The tree represents the masculine, the earth represents the feminine. And where those two come together is sacred ground. It's balance and harmony with all things. And so in this Sundance, when I saw myself, I didn't know what it was. I came back and I talked to the elders and I said, okay, what is it that's going on? They said, you got to do this. There's no way. You've been called. This is a calling that you have to do. And it's a sacrifice of the flesh. A lot of people say, well, you don't have to sacrifice anymore. But in our culture, we understand it. It's a prayer. That skin becomes a prayer that's being said for the people. So when I came back off my vision quest, this is another ceremony that we do. We go out into the wilderness for 4 days without food and water. It's called a vision quest. In the Lakota language, it's called hamblecha, crying in the night. You go out there for the 4 days, the 3 nights and 4 days without food and water. Well, the body is dying. About the 3rd day, without water and food, the body has begun the dying process. And that's where the vision comes from, or the dream, whatever you want to call it. For us, it's known as a vision. And in that vision, that's where I saw that I was hanging off this tree, and I was bewildered, didn't know what was going on. But in the process of coming back to the people where they were waiting for me after this ceremony that I went out and did the vision quest, an Apache grandmother in our group named me Watching Wolf. And she said, you don't have to accept the responsibilities or the name if you choose not to. And she explained the responsibilities that the wolf is a teacher, one that is family oriented, that takes care of the young and teaches them to survive. And she said, the name Watching Wolf was given to me by my father, whose name was Ceasefar. Looked into the future and said, you will meet this man whose name is going to be Watching Wolf, and you'll need to teach him the things that I know. And so that's who I have become over the years. But that's how I got my name. By going out to the vision quest and then coming back to the society, there has to be a change, a tangible change. And so my name was, I took on the name of Watching Wolf. And I realized that I would never be the same person again. And a lot of these things that I have here are part of what we know as regalia. This is a part of a legging. And then this is what we call a breechcloth. It has a back, then it has a front. And it goes through a belt loop, and it resides on top of the leggings. And the Sundancer does not wear a shirt during the ceremony. So this is the bulk of the regalia that I would wear for that ceremony. The things that you see here on this table are the things that a Sundancer uses. And in those little booklets that were handed out to you, I'll touch and skim across a lot of the things that are there. But you have to understand, and this is one of the first things that I try to get out, is that I know what I know. I don't claim to know everything. Never have I ever claimed to know it all. I have walked this path further than some, but less than others. And that is the status of who I am and what I know. It's just the things that I have done and what I have walked in my life, and I'm talking about today. When we go to Sundance, we take all our things with us, and we go and we pray for our people, for our families, for our relatives, loved ones that we know are ill, that are dying. We hope that they will get better, but we also ask for acceptance. Acceptance of those things that have come to our life that we cannot change. Some things we can do something about and change, but some things we cannot change. We have to accept them. And these are the tools of the trade right here. There's 7 sacred ceremonies that are in this booklet that I'll talk about a little bit here. And they came to the people by a person known as Teshunshala, the white buffalo calf maiden. And if you look at that logo in the front, that white buffalo represents the white buffalo calf maiden. She came to the people with these 7 sacred ceremonies, keeping the soul. It's a way of letting a departed loved one and return to the Great Spirit from where it came. The sweat lodge ceremony is another ceremony that we participate, or purification rite. The vision quest, as I spoke of when I went out into the wilderness for 4 days without food and water, is one to take one out and to see what life is all about. And you sit there in those 4 days and you talk to the Creator and say, okay, what is my life all about? What is my job? I'm here for a reason. I'm not here just to party and have a good time, to work, slave away, and then die. No, we all have a job to do. And that's what I went out there to find out. What is my job? Well, I'm here doing it today. I'm talking about what the heritage is, the culture, the surviving of those heritage and cultures, and the things that we do to make us be in harmony and balance with all things. The Sundance ceremony, of course, is one of the greatest ceremonies that I've ever participated in. It has changed my life completely from what I used to be to what I am today. A person who is drug-free, alcohol-free, and is not ashamed to talk about the things that he did in the past. Because in talking about those things, someone else in their lifetime may see that they don't have to walk that same path and know that it's a dead-end street. The making of the relations is when the ritual to create between two people a blood bond that is closer than the kinship relationship. And they're preparing the girl for a womanhood. And then throwing the ball ceremony, a ritual that establishes the relationship of the people to the universe, or to Wakantanka, who is everywhere, the Great Spirit, the Great Mystery. And so these ceremonies were brought to the people, and we participate in all these ceremonies. We know that they were brought to the people for harmony and balance. The sweat ceremony is a way of purging all the toxins and poisons out of the body. You know, a lot of times if a person is sick and goes to the doctor, they want to detox the body. There's a lot of chemicals and a lot of bad things in there. In our society, we know that the sweat lodge is one of those things that takes us and cleanses us from the inside out. Many people have come with asthma and other ailments and have sat in that sweat lodge, and they say, I wish I could stay here forever because I can breathe for the first time in a long time. Because those passages with the heat and the steam have opened up in the lungs, and they're being able to breathe, and they're purging all the things out of their body. And so these ceremonies were brought to us for those particular reasons. I want to talk about a little bit about this staff here. This is what we call a medicine staff as part of the Sundancers' regalia. Not everyone has a medicine staff. You have to know what your medicine is in order to have a medicine staff. If you don't know what your medicine is, then you can't put one together. First few years that I danced, I didn't have a staff because I was starting to realize what my medicine was. And as you understand, medicine is something that's good for you when you take it. The doctor prescribes it. Well, this is something that has been prescribed to me in a way of understanding from the Creator. And you see here, this is a little snake head right here. He's originally was attached to these little things right here, as you see. This snake was 5 foot 2 inches long before I killed it and stripped it. But I told this snake that I was going to use it for ceremony. Please forgive me for taking your life. And I offered it some tobacco in the tradition of our people. We give something first before we take. And if you understand what I'm talking about, our world needs a lot of give first before we take. If you have a cookie jar and you come and you take a cookie every day for 30 days, eventually that jar is going to be empty. If you don't put anything back, that's the way it's going to be, empty. And that's what our world is coming to these days, empty, because we're not giving anything back to our Mother Earth. And we call her Mother because she takes care of us. This snake has been a real good thing for me. In many situations in my life when I'm talking and doing things, I hear the rattle go off in my ear. And that was a part of the vision quest. It came to me in the vision that the snake was going to be a protector and a helper for me. And when I hear the rattle going off in my ear, I know I have to look out for danger somewhere. Something is coming at me that I need to be prepared for. And so I honor the snake. That's my medicine. I take care of it. These feathers, they're eagle feathers. They've been worn. They've been through a lot. They are looking like me these days. Getting old. They have done a lot for me, though. These eagle feathers, when are given to an individual, it's because they have done something that was selfless, that was kind and caring. And so these feathers that you see here were given to me as part of what I took in to Sundance. This is one of the very first eagle feathers that I was given. This is off of a young bald eagle. These are mixed golden eagle. And this one, I believe, is also off of a bald eagle. But they are important to me. We use them for ceremonies. We use them in a way that is maybe some people may not understand, but I'll explain it to you. This is sage. Sage is an herb or a plant that grows in South Dakota. We have some here. It's not what you see on the highways. It's a different kind of sage. But we'll take this and we call it a smudge stick when you put it together like this. And you light it and it only smolders. It burns for a little while and then it smolders. And we'll take that smoke and with an eagle fan, this is off of a golden eagle. And we take this fan and we'll take the smoke and wave it around us. And as we know in our physiology, we're energy, nothing but energy. Our brain works off of the synapses and our muscles work off electricity. So we're energy. And there's negative energy and there's positive energy. And so we take the sage and we cleanse our energy to make us feel better. I don't start a day without burning sage because I know it lines my day out for me and protects me and keeps me clean. Gets rid of all that negative energy that's around. Just walking through a hallway and you run across somebody and bump them and you touch them, you're in their energy field and they can transfer that negative energy to you. Somebody's having a bad day and they bump you and you're going to have a bad day. It works that way. And so we take care of those things. This is something else that was brought as part of a smudging ceremony to the people. Cleanse yourself, protect yourself. And we do all our items. We protect those things that are going to keep us safe and protected. This is an important piece. The story of this headdress is amazing. There's an old Comanche chief who was dying and told a friend of mine who was also in the Comanche area in his heritage. He said, I'm going to give you these feathers, and these feathers are probably about 76, 77 years old right now. He said, before I die, promise me that you will take these feathers and give them to someone that will keep them alive and use them for the benefit of the people. And so he asked our chief in South Dakota, he said, would it be possible for me to make a headdress for Luis to be able to know that he has been honored for what he has done? And as I said, each of these feathers represents something that someone saw you do that was selfless, was kind and caring, and you did it for the right reason, not because you want a pat on the back. This represents 20 years of my life of turning things that were negative into positives. And excuse me for getting choked up, but this is important. The type of work that I do is not just talking about the heritage and the culture. It's talking about our spirits, our souls, and what we're going to do with them. Where do they go? What happens? In our society today, our kids are not interested in spirituality, in religion. They're not worried about it. They want to do the things of the world, materialistic things. What's going to happen when we're all dead and gone and they're in charge of the world? This is what I'm talking about. The things that have happened in the last 20 years of my life, I've touched people in a way that I know this is what my life journey was all about. Make a difference in someone else's life. Tell them today that they are loved. People in some places in this world don't believe that they're capable of being loved, because the way that they have been treated, because the way people look at them, because of the color of their skin, because of their religious beliefs. None of that matters. You believe the way you believe. If you have your walk that God gave you, walk it. Be for real. Know that we all have a connection to the Creator. Whether I call Him God or I call Him Wakantanka, the great mystery, whatever we choose to call God, doesn't matter what we call Him, call Him. That's what we need today. We need prayer in this world. Talk to the children. Tell them. Your life is not what it needs to be. I tell the kids when I go into the school, I say, wake up. You are sent here for a reason. Wake up and do it, because you're cheating me. In the movie that Jimmy Stewart does, that he says he wishes he'd never been alive, and the angel comes and he takes him and shows him how the world would be without him. What's that? What's the name of that movie? It's a Wonderful Life, isn't it? If those people who came to this world don't do their job, the reactions are not going to be the same around where we are. If I don't do what I'm supposed to do, then that reaction is not going to happen. The ripple will not go out, and it will not move another person to do something different. And that person may have needed just one word of kindness to make a difference. What would have happened if those students at Columbine had been told, you are worth something. We love you, not because of what you do, but because who you are. You are a child of God. Know that. We are children of God. One word could make a difference. 3 words make a lot of difference. I love you. Sometimes the kids throw it out just like nothing to the girlfriend, to the boyfriend, and they don't realize what I love you means. Are you willing to do something for that individual without expecting anything back? Well, I'll tell you, I love this world. I love the place that I'm in and the people that I do things for. And that's why I give up the skin on my chest. Many of you have probably seen in the old Western movies where they would sit down and they'd smoke a peace pipe, the Indians and the blue coats or whatever the case may be, right? Well, there's many different types of pipes. The one pipe that they were probably smoking, if they were having a ceremony for peace, it would be called a peace pipe. That's where that came from. Then there was a social pipe. The social pipe was to sit down and for all the grandfathers, the elders, to sit around and to talk and to see how things were going amongst the tribes. And there was many different factions. They would split off and live in this area or that area. But they would come together and they would have these little, what we call a powwow now. Sit down and get together and talk about things. And they would smoke a social pipe. There was also a pipe that was for hunting. A hunting pipe. They would smoke that pipe and say their prayers while they were smoking, and the symbol of the prayer was the smoke rising out of the pipe so that they could have a good hunt to help feed the people. And there was a war pipe. When they were getting to go to war, getting ready to go, they would sit down and smoke the war pipe. They wanted to be able to go out to war and come back and be with their families again. And so they would prepare in this way. This particular pipe, because it belongs to me as a sun dancer, is called a medicine pipe. And it's used for healing. And as you know, healing is a very broad subject. It can go from the physical realm to the spiritual realm, where you have an honest to God, let's have a miracle, you're healed, no more illness. Well, this pipe, over the years that I've had it and used it, has been a part of some of those types of ceremonies where people have come and have had an illness and the doctor says, we can't do anything because if we do, we're going to mess you up worse. And with prayer, and this instrument, that's all it is. It's not an instrument. This does not have the power. The power comes from above. But the instruments allows us to make that connection and say, okay, Creator, I need your help in this. Nobody else can. When everything else in this world has failed, then we call on the Creator and say, okay, we've tried it all. It hadn't worked. I know I'm on bended knee here. I'm praying. And this is the instrument that brings them closer to that. And I won't put it together because it would dishonor me and it would dishonor the pipe. The only time that I put this pipe together is if I'm going to load it and I'm going to smoke it. And the way we load this pipe is with the traditional song that's sung in the traditional language of our ancestors. And we load it with kanik kanik. It's a mixture of tobacco and sage and red willow bark. And it's all mixed together and you load it in the pipe 1 pinch at a time. Someone else would may just grab a handful and stuff it in there. But for our people, we do things for a reason. We take 1 pinch of tobacco and we'll have some sage burning. And we'll take that tobacco and we'll purify it and cleanse it before we put it in the pipe. And we offer it to the directions. We offer it to Grandfather, what we call Grandfather, the Creator. Accept this prayer. And we put it in the pipe. We take another pinch, purify it and cleanse it. And we offer it to the east. And we'll put it in the pipe and go around the directions, the cardinal directions. And then we do Mother Earth. As I said a while ago, Mother Earth is very important. We offer it to Mother Earth as an offering for what we're about to ask, for all that she has given and all that we are. We put it in the pipe. There's another direction. There's 7 directions. And you say, how is that? Have north, south, east, west, above and below. That's 6. What about the direction within? We have a direction in here. That's where we go in for introspection, for prayer and meditation. It's an important part of our lives. And so we take that pinch of tobacco and we put it to our heart. And remember, it's an important thing to remember the inward direction. Go there. There's healing, there's knowledge, wisdom, understanding, compassion, love. And then we smoke the pipe. And when we pass this pipe to the next person that's going to smoke it, usually the stem will be in the left hand. That's traditional. And the bowl will be in the right hand. And we pass it. And we pull it back. And then we pass it. And pull it back. We do that 4 times. And each time, bless you, each time we're asking a silent question. Do you believe what you've been told about this pipe? Do you believe that this pipe has the power to heal? Do you believe this pipe will heal you? And are you willing to take this pipe and pass it along? Not just to those who are in the ceremony that's happening with the pipe, but to other people. To talk about it freely and willingly and say, you know, this has made a difference in my life. And as I said before, this is only an instrument. It's the intent and the belief behind it. You know, Jesus said to the people, if you believe, if you only have faith, you could move mountains. And that was the faith the size of eye of a needle, or what is that? A seed? Yeah. So if we only believe, then the healing can come.